Welcome to episode number 45 of the Castbar. Florian is gone today, so Evan and I will be taking the helm. The news section makes a slight comeback today with some interesting additions. We have your Reddit post of the week, and we'll have a closer look at the WoW UI. No listener mail review today. Thank you and enjoy. Welcome everybody to the Castbar, the World of Warcraft Podcast, channeling your content with no interrupts. Today is Sunday, September 20th at approximately 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I am Michael Schwan, and with me I have Evan.
How you doing, Michael Schwan?
I am doing quite well. I will say that I have felt better, but I've also certainly felt worse.
I hear you. Yep.
Yeah, I have not I've got a lot done this weekend, but I have not felt awesome the whole weekend.
Looks like a little bit of yeah, a little bit of illness going through, change of the seasons, that kind of thing. It's getting colder for you, right?
Slowly we're sitting down to where we're averaging around like 50 degrees throughout most of days and nights right now. Nights dropping to 40, days going up to 55-ish.
A little too chilly for me. I'm enjoying the 70s and 80s we're getting right now. It's gonna get colder soon, but this is the time of year I live for.
What is your winters like there?
It can be wet or dry, depending on something that I don't understand exactly.
Science?
We get a little bit of snow sometimes, usually a couple snow events a year. But we generally look for 3 or 4 good snows, and a lot of years we might only have one good snow and a couple of teases. We haven't had any big blizzard years for a while.
Sure. So do you get you don't get much snow at all then?
If you consider 3 or 4 good snows a year not very much, then that's correct.
Okay, because, I mean, Alaska, we don't live in igloos, but there's definitely snow in the winter. Although it's never that much of an impediment. All the cities and stuff are real prepared for it, so they always have road crews that are prepared to just scrape away the snow, dump them off in places that we have specifically set aside to dump snow off of, and then we're good.
Yeah. With our road crews, I don't think they ever know what it's going to be like.
Sure.
It's always a kind of a mystery, so we're always kind of unprepared. It's a lot of salt that you got to buy if it's going to snow 5 or 6 times, or we get a lot of freezing rain and ice too. And then if we end up getting not too much, like this past winter, we got not too much, but still more than they planned for. That's usually the part for the course,
Yeah, it was the same in Oklahoma. They were never prepared ever for what might or might not happen. And so you got a lot of snow days in Oklahoma, whereas I don't even know the last time anything closed down because of snow in Anchorage, because they're just like, what? Snow? Get over it. You'll walk to work.
Get over it literally. Let's go on top of it.
All right, into the news. Welcome to the news, everybody. I also realized that during the little catch-up segment, I didn't say where Florian was. Florian is gone today. He just got his new station. He just got into Hawaii over the last couple of days, where he'll be spending the next few years as part of his military service. But as part of that transition period, he's just kind of like thrown in a building with a bunch of other sweaty dudes right now, waiting to actually get like the place that he lives. So he doesn't really have access to a quiet place, much let alone a place that has like reliable internet. But across the next week, he'll be settling in and getting his place and all that. So, into the news. The first thing that I threw into the news was Blizzard Entertainment has partnered with Random House LLC. And what they're doing with Random House LLC, Random House, I didn't know that they publish books. I'd heard of Random House Audio before, in which they publish music, but they apparently also publish books, and they have partnered with them to release 2 new novels, and probably more as we go into the future. The first one is going to be a World of Warcraft novel that is titled Illidan, which is set to be released in March of 2016. Now, Evan, Is this just going to be a novel of, and I'm just speculating, I'm just asking you your opinion, we don't actually know for sure. Do you think this is just going to be a novel that is covering Illidan's, like, the happenings of Illidan when Warcraft 3, or maybe the happenings in Warlords, or maybe even the stuff that landed Illidan in prison 10,030 years ago, way back when?
The stuff that landed Illidan in prison 10,030 years ago is either covered in Warcraft 3 or War of the Ancients. As far as I know, or as far as I understand, I think that this novel is going to kind of bridge the gap and reintroduce a character for the people who don't know about him, who haven't played in TBC, who never played the original RTS, and maybe are familiar with Black Temple, and they say, yeah, in Black Temple, we kind of know Illidan as the villain, and then we end up fighting him at the very end. But what was going on? Tell us more about his demon hunters, the Illidari. Tell us more about his interactions with the Burning Legion during the part of the game, or during the part of the storyline where his canon was being written by the MMO.
So you think this will be maybe not quite as in depth as War Crimes was, but kind of an in-between novel like War Crimes was, explaining what happened between not Warlords, Miss Pandaria to Warlords of Draenor. You think this will be something kind of like that, but maybe not as important to the storyline?
Yeah, that's where I'm thinking. That's where that's where my chips are falling.
Okay, because I know there's a lot of people that were like, I've read War Crimes, I thought it was a fantastic book, but the thing is that if you haven't read it, there's a lot of confusion going to Warlords of Draenor, and the reason why is because that story was all tied up in War Crimes.
Yeah, we talked about that in the past. Is like, we pay our subscription, give us lore. You know, these are the characters that we pay to play to see. No, but that's kind of a weak argument. I mean, they can release lore, and I like that they have these little extra books that are considered canon that supplement the really story hungry players out there. I think it's cool. I really like Illidan's character. I did read was it Richard Knack that did the War of the Ancients trilogy back there? I don't remember the author, but that was a really cool book, and of course that focused on Tyrande, Malfurion, and Illidan, as well as Queen Ashara, and I guess Sargeras. I don't know which of the Burning Legion captains were more in focus during that novel, but it's a really cool story. I mean, Illidan's really kind of complicated character, and I'd much rather read a novel about him than about Garrosh.
So you think this might actually grab some more people then? Because, I mean, there wasn't too many people that were terribly interested in War Crimes, but some of the other books have sold well. Especially, like, one of the best ones is the one that is just literally titled Arthas, and it's pretty self-explanatory what that book is about. But that book, it literally just retells in the form of a novel the happenings of Warcraft 3's Arthas and how he went to become the Lich King.
Maybe this book that's coming out, Illidan, will be a recap of all the things that have happened to him. It's going to reference those events, but I think most of the meat of the book is going to be this in-between era. I think it's going to serve kind of a functional purpose for current players of the game to understand the lore and what's going on with this character particularly. Also, it's going to do some fan service to people who want to read about Illidan being a badass. And it's going to have to provide that context, too, for the people who don't really know anything about him.
Okay. And then the other novel we have is the StarCraft novel, which we don't have a title or anything that is going to be about yet. We just know that it's going to be written by best-selling author Timothy Zahn. Have you heard of this author before?
I haven't. Yet.
Yeah, the name doesn't ring any bells for me at all. I guess I actually could have just Googled, like, what his book is, or
bookography.
Let me see if I can just pull it up on my phone real quick. Timothy Zahn. He writes an American writer of science fiction and fantasy. He wrote a bunch of Star Wars books, and that looks like all he's written is just a ton of Star Wars books.
So as far as sci-fi space fantasy, I think he's probably really literarily muscular in that kind of genre. So I think he'd do it justice. That's the kind of author you want writing the StarCraft book. I'm sure they probably looked for somebody to propose it to, or do you think this guy is just writing and saying, "Hey, Blizzard, please let me write a StarCraft book"? You know.
It might have actually been up to Random House. I mean, the way that this deal is probably going down is that they made a partnership with Random House to publish novels, and Random House goes, okay, these are the assets we want to use, so we want to write a book about this new guy that seems all big and bad in your new expansion, i.e. Illidan, and we also want to release a StarCraft novel, and we want to use a bunch of assets and stuff from I would bet money that this book would be focused from a Protoss point of view, especially with the expansion coming out in a couple of months.
I still haven't checked out the expansion trailer. Is it really, really fantastic?
It's pretty good. I won't lie. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. I can't even say anything besides that. You do get to see an Archon be formed, and he takes down a what are those called? Ultralisks, the giant, humongous things. So it's pretty epic. But it doesn't really give you any idea at all of what's happening besides it's just a few Protoss fighting a whole bunch of Zerg, and that's it.
It makes sense. But sure, with the general stunning visuals and all that stuff that we come to expect now.
Yeah, it just further credits the idea that we seriously want not a World of Warcraft, a Blizzard movie made by their CG team, because all of the things that they do for their trailers and their CG cut scenes and credit scenes and stuff like that are just so fantastic. It blows just so many things out of the water that I would love to see a movie done by them.
And not to go on a tangent about the Warcraft movie, but what is the current state of StarCraft 2? How much of the game can you play for free? What do you buy? And then how do you, I guess, what's unlocked through purchasing?
So I don't want to call them expansion because they're not expansion. We have StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty, StarCraft 2 Heart of the Swarm, and we're getting StarCraft 2 Legacy of the Void. And each one is focused on a different race, and they are all technically part of the same storyline. So Heart of the Swarm was the second one, and it follows on the storyline of the first one. Now, if you don't purchase any of the games, and you only need to purchase one of them in order to, technically, but so if you don't order any of them, the only thing that you have access to is custom games. So you can play like fun matches against your friends for free. And you can go use what do they call it? The BattleNet arcade, the StarCraft arcade, the map creator and the stuff that's made by the community. You can access that for free, but that's it. You can't access anything else for free. Now, if you buy StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty, you get access to the entire storyline for StarCraft 2 Wings of Liberty, as well as if you purchase any of the games, you get availability to the ranked ladder, so you're able to play competitively on that ladder, and you only need one of the games. But if you own Wings of Liberty and not Heart of the Swarm, then you don't get to play the Heart of the Swarm campaign, and we'll same go for Legacy of the Void.
So it's almost like we were talking about last week or the week before on Guild Wars, where they give you a portion of the story, but not the whole thing, and you don't need all of them if you don't want to. But are we on the right track there?
Somewhat. I mean, if you don't pay for any of the StarCraft games, you don't get any of the story. You can only do for fun matches, essentially, for fun skirmish matches through custom games.
Cool. I remember back in the day, StarCraft 1, and then the expansion, I guess it was a proper expansion, Brood Wars, you had a campaign for Terran, Protoss, and Zerg, and then Brood Wars, you got another campaign for each of the races, I believe.
That is correct.
So this is a completely different style of releasing content.
That is correct. The Wings of Liberty is just the Terran campaign, the Heart of the Swarm is just the Zerg campaign, and the Legacy of the Void is just the Protoss campaign.
So when I play characters like Tassadar in Heroes of the Storm, everybody knows that Tassadar is this, Archon or whatever guy who did this special thing. People are playing the campaign for StarCraft 2, but a Protoss campaign hasn't been released yet. How do they know who these Zeratul characters are?
Zeratul, I know, shows up a ton in the cutscenes, especially in Heart of the Swarm. He interacts with Kerrigan a lot after she goes all crazy and becomes queen again. But I don't know about Tassadar, and compared to Heart of the Swarm, I mean, because not Heart of the Swarm, Heroes of the Storm, those are way too close. In Heroes of the Storm, nothing in Heroes of the Storm is technically canon. Everything that happens in that game, including them fighting and stuff like that, is literally just an anomaly in the universe that allows them to take place for combat for no purpose besides the sake of the game existing. Because Tassadar in the StarCraft 2 game is technically dead. He sacrificed himself for some noble purpose that I have forgotten.
Yep, that's as far as I know, but it's kind of funny how we've had StarCraft 2 for a number of years now, but we've never had a Protoss campaign until this campaign that's coming out now.
Right. It's a
well, there you go.
long time come.
It would be like if they were going to release Tanan Jungle as a expansion to World of Warcraft rather than just a content patch.
And we have had StarCraft 2 for over 5 years now. The initial Wings of Liberty came out in July of 2010.
Oh my goodness.
So, and we're supposed to get Legacy of the Void here in November, I believe, maybe December. And at that point, we will have... supposedly the StarCraft 2 storyline will be completely wrapped up, and then the StarCraft team gets to start working on something else. Which was rumored to be something in the Warcraft universe, but they didn't confirm anything anywhere.
Yeah, well, excellent. I look forward to this. I'm more likely to read Illidan than StarCraft novel. Are you going to pick up either of these or both?
Maybe I might pick them up if they get audiobook versions. I don't find myself too heavily inclined to grab a paper book and sit down and read it, but I get to listen to a lot of podcasts and stuff while I'm at work, and that can also just easily be turned into audiobooks, and that's how I listened to War Crimes and a bunch of the other Warcraft novels was through audiobooks.
Interesting. Yeah, well, I'm positive they're going to get some audiobook actor, reader, voice guy to do them, considering the amount of promotion they had for the audiobook version of War Crimes in the past, so don't even worry about that.
We can hope. Yeah. Moving along. Okay, that was terrible. I'll just delete all of that.
Want to try that again?
No, I'm not going to try it again. So the next thing in the news is Twitch integrated with Battle.net. So Twitch is without a doubt, the most popular streaming service in cases of streaming any form of video game right now. YouTube gaming is trying to kind of creep its way in there, but YouTube's got a very large uphill battle on their hands. So Twitch is the place where a lot of things like League of Legends LCS is streamed, Hearthstone is streamed. Basically, any video game that you want to watch someone play live that isn't like a YouTube video is going to be streamed through Twitch. And you are now able to connect your Battle.net account. Well, I don't know if you can right now. Yeah, you can. Connect it to your Twitch account, and the purpose for this seems de minimis in that it really just seems to be like a data point for Blizzard and Twitch, because right now the only thing that you can get from it is that if you have connected your account and you watch the Heroes of the Storm Regional Championship with a connected account, you'll receive a little avatar in Heroes of the Storm. So, once again, Evan, here we are sitting in a way of where they are using Battle.net as a platform to push social media, kind of like the way that Twitter was integrated with it. Now, I see a correlation here between Twitch and Twitter. What are your feelings on this?
You're going to be able to have a gaming social media sphere that's centered entirely around Blizzard. I think the more Blizzard gets you to spend your time on Battle.net and to interact with it, the more they're going to be pushing these social media expansions, if you will, like plugins almost. I want to see a Twitter interface in Battle.net. Cut out the middleman, make it a social media platform, almost like a Facebook app. That just combines all your stuff kind of together, and then throws your games in there, make it easier to connect to your friends, and then Curse is actually getting a leg up on them now with integrating a voice chat client that pulls your friends off your Battle.net friends list. Have you heard of this yet?
No, I haven't. Go ahead and tell me about it.
Curse Voice. I was in a game, Here's the Storm, with a couple of friends on my friends list. They said go ahead and hop in our Curse Voice channel, CV. I'm like, are you asking for my curriculum vitae? Am I applying for a job? Do you ask if I have clairvoyance? That's the wrong game. No, curse voice. And what it does is it will pull. It's I guess touted, I guess, as this gaming voice app. The voice call quality is really clear, and it will pull your friends off your friends list automatically. What is the goddamn other functionalities of it here? Again,
You mean
they're
that?
not kicking they're not kicking me any bucks for talking about it, but it's on the radar. It ought to be on your radar now. It's a voice chat client, just like Ventrilo or Mumble or TeamSpeak, free to use and download. Assume, and I think it works like Skype, where you don't need to buy a server. You're just calling peer to peer,
This
and
sounds really awesome, but so one of the things that I see a problem with this is the limitation that we've had in the past already and still over the Battle.net friends list, because you're so limited on how many people you can have on that, especially because I imagine Curse will want to set this up so that you can use it between multiple games if you want to jump straight from a raid into Heroes of the Storm.
right. It actually functions not using your Battle.net account ID. It uses your Curse account. So if you use Curse client for your um, World of Warcraft add-ons, for example, I think this is a function of the new Curse client.
Are you able to add friends on your new Curse client?
Yeah, for example, my battle tag is one thing. My Curse client tag is another thing, and I have this separate name. I can add a friend right now. Uh, let's see if I can find you, CHWAHNMICHAEL at Gmail. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, it can't find you because you're not registered on your Curse client right here. But I've got my friends list. I can right-click them, and if they're online, I can just add them to a call
Huh.
right now. Um,
Okay.
so yeah, it'll use your Battle.net app to find people who I guess have this Curse client up and running and have it linked to their Battle.net account. I don't remember exactly the process for having done that, but it's very simple. And when I booted it up yesterday, um, I probably had 20 or 25 friends online on my Battle.net friends list, but maybe five or six, about a half dozen of them actually had this Curse client, and we're ready to chat if I were to have messaged them, I guess. So I can,
All right. Well, best of luck to
yeah,
Curse get then.
exactly. So put that on your radar. Maybe Battle.net, I could really see them trying out their VoIP again, a voice client, maybe something that doesn't run through World of Warcraft, but since they have so many different games right now, put it through the Battle.net launcher. And maybe something that's already in development. Maybe it's something that they are going to say, hey, a lot of companies do voice chat a lot better. They're specializing in it. They're making money, and we don't have to offer this service for free to our players. I would assume if they gave us a voice chat, it would be integrated free of charge. So maybe they're saying this isn't a good place to put our investment right now.
I don't know, but I am interested now, and I hope the Curse normally does pretty good work, so hopefully that means that this turns out to be something good.
Um,
Um, I do not
yeah,
have my. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah. Next thing, I was gonna just make a small prediction before we really move on from the BattleNet thing. Yeah, Twitch is now part of BattleNet, I guess. There's a way for Twitter to be connected. Start keeping an eye out for a social media feed on your launcher. I think that might be the next step.
So you think it'll just become its own little entity in terms of social media?
Yeah, we already have little news items that come up on our launcher here for all the different games. For example, in Here's the Storm, I'm seeing the Champions America Championship Day 2 in World of Warcraft. They're having a sale on the Grinning Reaver mount. Those things are kind of boring. Maybe recent achievements your friends got, maybe, or recent posts from Twitter that have to do with WoW. Maybe. Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe direct connections to Twitch, like maybe I'll be able to say, "Hey, let me check out." Here's a storm saying the America's Championship is now live. Um, oh yeah, never mind. I can just click it and automatically pop it up in my browser, and that takes me directly to Twitch. So that's what's starting to happen.
So with all this, do you think we're going to hit a point where there's just like kind of like a giant cloud service of sorts that Blizzard kind of integrates its fingers into a whole bunch of different little areas so that no matter where you go, it kind of directs you back to a Blizzard product?
I mean, that would be that'd be useful for them from a marketing standpoint. I really think that they're not going to be able to create a tool that we'll use unless the tool's useful to us. Putting all of our game clients into the Battle.net launcher was a good move. I think it makes it really easy to say, I'll say, what game do I want to play on my computer? Well, if my Battle.net launcher's already up, I might say, which Blizzard game am I going to play? Do I want to play Heroes of the Storm? No, maybe I'll just, do my Garrison in World of Warcraft, or, I'll just run a Rift or two in Diablo. It's useful to me and useful to Blizzard there. So them directing me back to my Garrison, like, come on, it's been a while since you logged into World of Warcraft, isn't really useful for me. It's not like I'm forgetting it's there, but
you just don't want to log in.
If I want to stream some people from Twitch, do I want to open up my browser and then go to twitch.com and then be like, I don't have any streams because I don't have a Twitch account, and I don't want to make a Twitch account because I don't want to remember my login information. But here, integrate it, make it easier for me to enjoy Twitch with taking that little step. Helps Blizzard and it helps me. So that's the kind of direction I would see them going.
Do you think that will pop? Because like right now, streaming isn't exactly the easiest thing to do. I mean, you have to, and I'm not talking about the performance of streaming. That's entirely different. I mean, whether you're a good streamer or not is up to you and your ability to do it. Because you have to do, anyway, that's a tangent. But you have to download programs and have certain abilities in your computer and stuff like that in order to stream the content that you are wanting to send through to Twitch. And a lot of these programs either are free and not very good, or they cost a decent bit of money and are good. A lot of ones like Gamecaster and XSplit and stuff like that, those are good, but they also require money. Now, the reason that I explain this is because the Xbox One came with the ability to stream straight to Twitch through an integrated interface on the console itself. Do you think that we might hit a point where if you have a Battle.net account and you have it attached to a Twitch account, that you can just kind of like hit a button and it'll just immediately start streaming your gameplay to Twitch?
That kind of goes in the same category as the new upgraded Battle.net client VoIP or voice chat system. It's something that Blizzard probably could do. It's something that would probably be expensive, something that we might expect would be offered for free if it was integrated into Battle.net. And then it also seems like that niche is already filled by other third-party companies. I'm not sure why Microsoft and Xbox has this feature. It's really cool, and being able to stream your gameplay experience with the click of a button, just like turning on stream mode just in the bottom left corner, for example, is where our future is going technologically. Being able to share every moment of your life with your social sphere cloud thing. But I'm not sure if that's an investment Blizzard's going to make. So my question is, this Xbox thing, was it a Microsoft thing? Was it a third-party thing? What's the quality like? Is it like a C quality, stream, whereas the premium programs can give you A+?
Well, I mean, it's kind of already difficult to stream you playing an Xbox as it is right now, because I mean, like, if you had an Xbox 360, streaming it would be difficult because you would need a computer that had a decent amount of power. You run a capture card through the computer that the Xbox plugs into, and then the computer takes the visuals from that capture card, plugs it into a program that then streams it onto Twitch. Whereas with the Xbox One, you literally just turn it on and it streams to Twitch for you.
So maybe it's just because of that extra step, Microsoft did it as a selling point. I would say, in order to sell more consoles, I would say that's an investment in the value of the system itself. A lot of people with their computers are building their own machines. They're going to build it with the capacity, the capability to stream, or maybe a lower end budget system won't really be able to stream because it lacks that kind of power. Uh, I think because so much premium content exists as far as streaming programs, that Blizzard won't go the same route until that technology becomes really cheap. Or, for example, I'm not sure if moving into the future we're going to start outsourcing the hardware of our gameplay experience to the Blizzard cloud server, and not have all the computing done on the server side and have Blizzard stream us a video feed of our character and client experience, in which case that would be really easy to just send the same video feed to a streaming server.
I guess we'll just have to wait and see. Not a whole lot that we can do at this point, but I mean, with how many, like, they keep on pushing BattleNet further and further, and I think that with that we'll see something else come in the future that attaches to BattleNet, even if it is just the functionality of streaming straight to Twitch.
I'm back. My microphone cut out there due to battery power, but I'm plugged in.
Okay. Let's go ahead and move along. That terrible sound from earlier that you probably didn't hear was my program that plays the sounds completely dying out. And so we don't have the gong anymore. I will have to see if that program lives. Otherwise, the next thing in the news is Brewfest. It starts today. If you are listening to this like within the next few hours after we finish recording, I get it edited and posted. Otherwise, if you are listening to this on Monday, September 21st, it started yesterday. Brewfest is a world event that is based on Oktoberfest. It is important because it is a holiday that is... Evan, is your microphone still dying?
It's like the power cord's not even working.
Every time your headphones die, it goes.
Yeah, I apologize. I thought that was just a sound that played to me for my own convenience. Yeah, usually it's. I apologize if I keep on cutting out here, but I think I have it. It's lasted for 30 seconds now. I have it plugged in. I just might have a hardware issue, but yeah, Brewfest is a fun holiday in my opinion.
Right, and it is important because it is one of the requirements for what a long strain strip it's been. It is a longer holiday. You have from today, September 20th, to October 7th to complete the achievements. And of the world events, these achievements are actually pretty easy. You can get all of these done in probably a single day without too much effort involved. There is words and stuff and things. Some of the dungeons do have... Some of the holidays have holiday dungeons that you are able to do once a day for a reward. You can do them more, but I don't think you can always get the rewards from them. Well, you can get the items that are dropped, but you're not able to get the little bonus chest, which can have mounts in it in this case, which is the Brewfest Kodo and the Swift Brewfest Ram. But the items that drop from this dungeon, if you do still need a little bit of a power boost, they are trinkets and they are item level 670. So if you are still rocking some of that Tanan jungle gear of item level 650, this could give you a little bit of a boost. If you want to do the questing events, you will need to go to the Brewfest encampments, which are located outside of Ironforge and Orgrimmar. And this is based off of the Oktoberfest holiday, which means that everything is about booze. Are you excited, Evan?
No, I was really excited about this last year when I got a chip on my shoulder that my Brewmaster monk needed the Brewmaster title. This title is gotten through the achievements that Michael's going to be doing for his meta. And it's really simple and easy to get the Brewmaster title. So if that appeals to you, if you have a monk, I really recommend not missing this opportunity. It's fun to have your name be Brewmaster, whoever. This year I won't really be doing it. I don't really like chasing mounts. So I already have the title and I'm not going to be wearing it out. But it is a fun event. I especially like the apple racing with the Rams. I think that's a fun little jaunt. Where you pick up the apple buckets to make yourself go a little bit faster. And you can get a bunch of your Brewfest tokens doing that. If you are going after the mount, of course there are two mounts, the Brewfest Ram and the Brewfest Kodo. This is something that you can do once per day per character. So the more max level or near max level characters can you do this below level 100, Michael?
No,
do
you
know?
have to be level 100.
So the more max level characters you have, the better your chance of getting the mount in the chest. Yes, have to do it once per day per character. Something I'll mention about this, the random gear, I think the trinkets, and I think there's a one-handed mace that you can dual wield that drops.
The
Which is
Stein.
the Stein, or the Tankard. The Stein is something they just give you if you start doing the Brewfest quest outside of the capital city, Ironforge or Orgrimmar. And I don't think that's a combat weapon necessarily, but I think there is a weapon that drops off the same boss that you do in the dungeon, Hurley Black Brew, right? The Tankard, Hurley's Tankard, I think is what it's called.
It's in the whatever the bar is called that's in Blackrock Caverns. Depths. Darn. And you're defeating Corin Direbrew in there, and he's
right.
bent on, I don't even know. Does he just want people to just buy his ale or stuff?
He has the bad luck of being attached to a looking for group button.
Oh. That's terrible.
That's why he's a villain. Hopefully this never happens to you guys. Random holiday weekend, players queue up to come to your house and defeat you without any kind of notion of what you've done. So it reminds me of the Valentine's Day event. Why am I in Shadowfang Keep? Who are these people? Why are they spraying me with green and pink goo? The difference between this and the holiday event for the Love is in the Air is that it seems like, from what you said, Michael, that the dungeon boss drops are a relevant item level.
670. I mean, that can actually at least. I mean, if you're not doing Hellfire Citadel LFR, this can actually get you somewhere.
Exactly. Which I think the Love is in the Air was just a couple months ago. Hellfire Citadel wasn't released yet, but they were only giving you 630, which is the same from the previous year. No, that doesn't make any sense. Yeah, it was pretty low, wasn't it? I think I remember us talking about that.
Holiday dungeons are normally pretty low on the item level, which is real unfortunate.
I guess after they released a second tier of the raid, here they're giving us a little bit more of a bone.
If you are interested in doing the quest to get the title as well as the meta achievement for What a Long Strange Trip It's Been, it is pretty easy. You need to collect a bunch of tokens, which Evan said the little racing game is a great way to accumulate those tokens. You can build them up pretty quick. Once you get a bunch of tokens, you need to buy a membership to the I'm a Drunken Bastard of the Month, in which they're going to spam your mailbox with booze every month. Just a forewarning on that one. You'll need to do the daily dungeon. You'll need to wear some... Oh, you don't actually have... Wait, do you have to do this one? I don't know. Anyway, one of the achievements, you need to put on some clothes, the Brewfest clothes, get smashed, and go dancing in Dalaran. Catch the Volpertinger. Do a couple daily quests. There's specific ones you need to do, but they're all available every day, so just do them all once, and you're probably good. You need to fall from a really high spot without dying, so there's already an achievement for falling more than 65 yards and not dying. Just do this again. Just do it while you're completely smashed. Either get one of the mounts from the dungeon, which if you're lucky enough to do so, congratulations. Otherwise, there is a little item for 2 of the little tokens that can turn your mount into one of the Brewfest mounts for like an hour, and that gives you an achievement. And then the other achievement that you need to do is literally just drink a bunch of booze. There's 6 or 8 or 12 or something like that special types of beer that are sold during Brewfest. Buy them all, drink them all. Congratulations, you have your achievement. You can cross this one off your list. You're done.
Yep, it's really simple and it's a painless. I think it's pretty painless. Getting the Brewmaster achievement, I don't know what else you have to do. I did not have to do the Dalaran dance, so that must be one that beyond the Brewmaster achievement that they put into the meta. Yeah, it only takes a little while. You don't have to fly all over creation like with the elders or the trick-or-treat buckets.
You also don't have to hunt down like an undead rogue, a gnome wizard,
exactly.
a female tauren, a bisexual anthropomorphic thing.
Yep, centaur.
Those are
Anyway.
the worst. Those are the worst. You're just running around Dalaran going, I don't see a gnome yet. Oh, there's a gnome. Is it a... Nope. That's a gnome rogue, not a gnome warlock. All right. Well, wait, I see a Tauren. Is it a Tauren shaman? Nope. Tauren Death Knight. Never mind. I hate those. I hate them. They're terrible.
Let's see. I think that the Wolpertinger is. Do you have to go out and find it and then kill it with a group or something, or are these just the little invisible rabbits that are right near the Brewfest area?
Just those little invisible rabbits that are right there near the area. Super easy.
Yeah. Hold on one second. I'll be right back.
Okay. So go ahead, dive into that, get your achievement. This is actually a pretty sweet title because Brewmaster means you are the master of the booze, and let's face it, in order for our characters to survive in the World of Warcraft, they probably drink quite a bit of booze.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be funny if that was part of the shtick. But no, only role players drink booze. You should know that.
I don't know. Sometimes you just like... You'll get some booze from like a quest and you're like, whatever, slam it all back. And then you're like, I regret my decision, as you're like running in circles trying to run somewhere.
No, it's not worth it. It's not even fun. I just throw it away. Sometimes you can vendor it for a couple copper pieces.
And some of it you can vendor for a couple gold pieces.
Is that right?
Some of the booze that you would find and stuff in Miss Pandaria was worth like a gold and 20 silver, and one was like 2 gold and 10 silver.
Who do you think would win in a drinking competition, a panda or a dwarf?
A dwarf? The only reason that I say that is when you go through the panda stuff, the pandas pass out a lot. I don't see dwarves pass out very much. So I think that pandas can pound a lot back, but they can't hold it very well, where dwarves can pound a lot back and then go back to work.
Interesting perspective. I wonder how many dwarf brewmasters there are out there in roleplay land. I think it's a pretty cool combination, honestly.
Hopefully several. I'm gonna play the review soundbite to go into the Reddit post of the week. Welcome to the Reddit post of the week, everybody. This is a test segment we're doing where we pick a relevant top post from the WoW subreddit over each week, and we do a little bit of talking about it. And this week, this was actually a post on Reddit from the World of Warcraft forums titled, "I don't want the job." Now, it's real short. He said, I don't want to be the leader of my class, commander of my garrison, or even the champion of the Alliance or Horde. I just want to be a character in the World of Warcraft. I am not the focal point of the story. Get the focus back on the world, please. That alone will get this game feeling more like an MMO again. So, Evan, what was your initial reaction when you heard this? Were you like, yeah, or like, or how? What was your first reaction when you read this?
Well, my first feeling was nostalgia, because I certainly used to feel like an absolute nobody when I was playing on my little gnome rogue in vanilla. And I think the size of the raids, like 40-person Molten Core, helped to kind of reinforce that feeling. And the fact that the only thing I was doing day in and day out was trying to collect my dungeon set from these kind of elite mobs in these 5-man dungeons. I wasn't sparring with Deathwing. I wasn't chasing Kael'thas through a tunnel. I wasn't, doing anything really heroic. I was clearing out Stratholme, and I was going into Black Wing Lair. And those are pretty dangerous adventures, but they aren't world-defining. They aren't, quote, the game doesn't make sense, the story doesn't make sense unless you've done this dungeon, quote. And there's certainly a different feel, and you can definitely kind of sense the direction that Blizzard's taking this. Let's put the focus on the hero, and I think that they are trying to appeal to their audience in doing that. So obviously here's one guy who doesn't like the kind of attention. I definitely hear where he's saying, I wish there was a way for the world to feel a little bit more like it
existed outside of us rather than around us.
But yeah, I guess so. I think that's what he's kind of saying is like this really changed in Warlords of Draenor where you're getting really kind of addressed as a commander everywhere you go. And that is attention that you don't usually get. Usually it's just, hey, hero, hey, adventurer, hey, Worgen. So yeah, we're getting a little bit into the spotlight here, and then I kind of feel bad for this guy because he's already out of luck for next expansion. We're going to be leaders of our class order. That's a lot of like focus and responsibility. And if you didn't like being a garrison commander, then you're not going to like this either. And it's easy to kind of predict that you won't be liking it.
Well, and also with the artifact weapons, it is like your sole responsibility to lead the charge against the Legion. And like, while we have always been the ones that have stopped things in the past, I don't ever feel like we necessarily needed to be addressed as, I mean, like, it was frustrating when Thrall would take credit for everything that happened all the time, always. And while that's frustrating, I didn't necessarily want to become Thrall.
Yeah, exactly. And maybe that's the kind of the reason Blizzard kind of took this direction. Cataclysm was all about Green Jesus, and now we have Mr. Pandaria, or then we had Mr. Pandaria following afterward, where we interacted with Lore Walker Cho in the very first zone pretty heavily, and then he kind of keeps on popping out, having remembered you as being that hero that he met. A lot of his raid dialogue is speaking directly kind of to you. And then Siege of Orgrimmar. Yeah.
And I mean, like, in Siege of Orgrimmar, I mean, we got to see, like, the cutscene of, what's Panda's name? Terran Zoo fighting Garrosh. But, I mean, it always, while that was cool, Garrosh, in all of his insanity, always just kind of addressed the heroes in general. And that's not a bad thing. Because, I mean, it always seemed in the past, like, yeah, we're more talented, stronger and stuff than your average Joe, and that's why we chose to be adventurers, and we just very often happen to be there at the right or possibly wrong time to stop things. I mean, like Ulduar, one of the, most renowned raids of all time, it was just, we were exploring that area, checking out Northrend and stuff, trying to clear out the Lich King, and then we found Ulduar, and it's like, well, you're here, it's going to be a little bit too long before we can get someone else here, and Algalon's going to be here in 20 hours, so, chop.
Pretty much. I think something that might ease this guy's woes a little bit about the direction of Legion expansion is thinking about it this way. Say you have a Stormwind Guard footman, and they kind of are dressed like the Warcraft 3 footmen. That's one of the kind of styles that they kind of copied over in World of Warcraft. They are, I guess, we'll just say a warrior. If they were going to be a player class, they would probably be a warrior. They don't have any magic powers. They just use their shield or two-handed sword if they have it. These guys are the typical NPCs. These are the warriors who aren't heroes, that aren't adventurers, right? So as the threat of the Legion gets really dire, I think a lot of the powers that be and the people in charge of our individual factions are saying, not so much here, character name, you are now in charge of all warriors in the game, including all the other players, I mean, I don't know, like the class order, all the warriors in the Alliance are now under your command, and you got to lead them to victory or whatever. That's the kind of attention that I think this guy doesn't like. But if somebody is like, we need all hands on deck here, every experienced adventurer, it's kind of like the Ulduar thing, chop, you have to take this platoon of 20 Stormwind footmen, and then this is your order. You don't have to be so grand scale on it. Maybe this is just a couple of underlings to help you do your part as part of your duty, not, hey, you're the greatest druid that ever lived. Here, have every druid ever be, under your command right now. That's the kind of responsibility this guy doesn't want, I don't think.
I think part of the problem with this is that WoW and Blizzard as a combined unit are hitting a point where they can't go higher. So, I mean, vanilla wasn't really all that big, and then we went into Burning Crusade, and it got a little bit bigger, but really it didn't still feel that epic, that huge. It just felt, kind of natural. And then, Wrath of the Lich King, as epic and awesome as that it felt, it was more of like a wrapping up of the events from Warcraft 3. And then we went into Cataclysm, and it was like, boom, the world explodes, and giant dragon, and end of the world, and end time, and everything's on fire, and death, and destruction. And then we went into Warlords of Draenor, not Warlords, Mists of Pandaria, and it was kind of big like that again. I mean, we had, old gods and these giant aspects of, the 7 deadly sins, and Garrosh is gonna blow up the world, and now again, Warlords of Draenor, same thing. They just keep getting bigger, and you can't go too much bigger.
Yeah, which is why the expansion after Legion is when we're trying to rebuild the planet of Azeroth in some kind of mirror universe, and we have to be farmers and raise a bunch of corn in order to feed the pigs, and that'll be the first raid tier.
Oh boy. All right, well, I'm done with that. Let's go and do a closer look. Welcome to a closer look, everybody. A small section we do where we talk about something in the World of Warcraft that might not be newsworthy, but we just wanted to throw a little bit more conversation your way. This week we're going to be talking about the user interface in World of Warcraft. So this is your heads-up display, your UI, your whatever you want to call it. The thing that has your health bar, your life bar, your magic, your stamina, your abilities, your items, your mini-map, your buffs, debuffs, etc. So we're going to start talking about the base UI. Now, there's a lot of people who there's kind of two sides of the same coin. There's people that think the base UI is fine, and there's people that think the base UI is garbage. I personally do not like the base UI at all. Where are you sitting, Evan?
I like it until I reach about level 15, and 1 through equal sign is no longer convenient to put on my spells on. You fill up that bar and start needing to use the extra action bars to fill all your abilities onto, and then that's where I start needing to install bartender or whatever.
And one of the things that always bugged me the most, and I've heard the same complaint from a couple other places, is that the base UI is very stylized in the same design as World of Warcraft itself is. So, I mean, it looks nice and all this kind of different stuff, but it has a lot of extra fluff and just an extra, detail around the edges that kind of clutter up the screen a lot. So, you like where your action bars and stuff are, it's got that little dragon symbols and stuff around it that kind of curve down, and that eats up more of the screen. And up there where your character portrait and stuff is, that eats up more of the screen because it's got so much extra flourish around it. And that kind of stuff, I want to be able to see more, and I feel like all of that just kind of really just eats into the game.
It reminds me of the health and mana orbs from Diablo and Diablo 2. I'm not entirely sure if it's this way in Diablo 3. I think it is. Your health is displayed not in a bar, but in an orb that drains. It's stylistic and not terribly useful. It's kind of tough to gauge, and I'm sure you get used to it, and Diablo players are going to say it's fine, but that's kind of just another example of how you sacrificed legibility for style,
right? I think
in small ways.
I think the alternative, the strongest differential between Warcraft and Diablo, though, is with Diablo, you have your health, your mana or resource or whatever it is, a few abilities, and that's pretty much it. Whereas on Warcraft, I mean, we have a lot more abilities. We have buffs, we have debuffs, we have our target, we have our raid UI, from everyone that's in our group. We have our targets UI. We might have our focus set and our focus UI. If you're a pet class, you have your pet bar and your pet's life, and there's just much, much more that happens in Warcraft. So even though the Diablo shares that stylized effect, it has so much less that it's not as intrusive.
So are you? How much do you like the current UI as is? How long can you play level one character before you have to start throwing add-ons in there?
Wait, in Diablo?
Oh, I was going back to the Blizzard UI here, the Warcraft.
Oh, okay.
You can't do add-ons for Diablo at all, can you?
I don't think so. I mean, I've never immediately felt like I needed add-ons in Diablo. So if you can, I wouldn't even know where to get them, but I don't believe that there even are any. I mean, there might be like some sort of damage tracker, but I still don't see why you would need one. I mean,
Hmm.
and I mean Diablo, you can kind of gauge how much damage you're doing on is it dying? Okay, like that's
Exactly.
about as far as that goes. In Warcraft, though, I do use a lot of add-ons. The biggest add-on I use is called ElvUI, and it's a full UI overhaul add-on that I really like a lot, and it just completely simplifies and cleans up the entire UI. So it takes away all of that fluff, all that clutter, puts the mini-map into a small little square instead of in that big awkward circle. It shrinks down my portraits. I can even completely remove the picture if I want to, where it just literally says my name inside of a health bar, and below that is a blue bar that tells me how much mana I have. So it's much smaller. All of my abilities I can shrink down and shrink and shrink and shrink, because I want to remove all that fluff and clutter so that I get to see more, not for just gameplay purposes, but also because it allows me to just see more and lets me feel a little bit more immersed in what I'm doing.
Yeah, I agree. I do it strictly due to or because of form. I don't change the chat. I don't change the mini map or the quest heads up display. I will change the my resource bars, my unit frames, and my action bars. I think those are the things that are easiest to customize, and I think those are the things that benefit through customization the most. Unit frames are kind of weak. Um, and the regular Blizzard UI. Overall, I would say that the regular Blizzard UI really defined the whole genre of MMOs. You can see lots of games basically just copying it, almost 100% the same as Blizzard World of Warcraft. Um, so they're definitely setting the standard out there. I do think it has flaws. I think they've taken some compromises, and again, they're sacrificing visibility, clarity, legibility for style, and I think that style makes it immersive. I think the regular Blizzard UI is pretty reduced to the point where you get a big wide screen area, whereas almost anybody with a modified UI has less of a screen to look at. Maybe in your case with LVUI, it's also reductionist.
Well, and I don't know. I mean, it is a reduction for me, but especially when I was raiding hardcore, that reduction didn't mean anything, because as soon as I started raiding in a much more like serious fashion, or because most WoW players are obsessed with the numbers and stuff like that, I mean, I condensed all of this information that is like kind of vital for you to have. I condensed that down into smaller areas just so I could fill up that space with something else. I mean, I was downloading threat meters, damage meters, healing meters, all these different types of just other add-ons that always want to put something on your screen, and that just fills up all that newfound space with a whole bunch of other things that are clutter-filled. So I mean, I think now it is a much better experience for me, because I don't have all of those add-ons cluttering up my newfound space that I had. So it does actually serve that minimalist purpose. I mean, and if I wanted, I mean, your abilities can be bound to keys, and you can just completely remove the action bars if you just want to dedicate yourself to memorizing all of your abilities and where they are. We got a lot of abilities. I don't want to do that.
Yeah, I actually did. Let's see if I can find the same monk UI that I saw back in the Berg's monk UI. I think might be it. I'm looking right now. This is a super minimalist, super customized UI where it's basically nothing except for a central icon with two bars on the left and the right, little tiny icons for your buffs and debuffs, and then a chi tracker. This is an example of how customizable the UI is to begin with. A lot of people who are way better at artistic style design and computer language than I am make pretty incredible custom UIs. UI is a very customizable UI. Um, I think versatility is something that is really, really valuable, especially when you have such different roles. Healbot and healing and raids comes to mind, where healers need to have completely separate UI than, say, a damage dealer.
It's true.
And so this versatility is really incredible, especially considering that the base UI is almost unchanged from release 10 years ago. I think that's impressive.
So do you think maybe it's time for an update then of the UI, or do you think Blizzard's going to kind of let it just age along with the rest of the game?
What parts of it do you think need updating the most badly? I think
I don't think it necessarily needs updated. I just think that on base level you should be able to customize it just a little bit more than you can. And I do think that they do, like you said, it's time. That's what you just said, is that, I mean, keeping up with the times is important. And you can't just, slap new paint on some textures. You need to, try and revitalize the game in as many ways as you can. And why not start with the base interface that everyone uses?
I think as more and more classes have unique resources to track, again, Demon Hunter is going to have another unique resource, isn't that right? Not necessarily energy. I don't think they've announced what's going to be yet. Am I correct in remembering that?
It's called like Rage or Fury or Hatred. Oh, okay. I don't know.
This is where it's going to start making sense to... No, excuse me. Give a little bit more of a customized experience for each class through the UI. It would be cool if healers themselves, when you're in your healing spec, you have somewhat of an altered UI, just in that basic level, just to provide, again, a more customized, immersive experience for the people who don't use add-ons. But I wouldn't see like an update to the system at large. One, because that would almost certainly destabilize a lot of the add-ons people do use. Two, if somebody wants a heavily customized interface, they can always get an add-on. And really, if Blizzard's going to be doing any work into improving the UI, it's going to be to improve the experience of a basic user, insofar as the basic user right now feels kind of impeded in their enjoyment of the game or their understanding of the game, if that makes any sense. If Joe Schmo that plays Hunter can't tell when his pet is dying, to the point where he might not play the game because it's kind of weird and hard to understand, then I can see a UI change there. If people say, I quit the game because I didn't really feel immersed, things that would reflect that their UI is kind of getting out of date, I think they're going to wait for that feedback before they start pushing it.
I guess we'll just have to wait and see. I mean, Blizzard seems to have a plan for all of this. It's just... I mean, they're trying kind of to retreat back into their fortress right now because of a lot of things that were said that shouldn't have been, and they don't know what information they should or shouldn't say. So I hope that, because right now, and I want to know if you feel the similar feelings in this, I kind of feel like the World of Warcraft team and Blizzard itself in regards to World of Warcraft is kind of just coasting, because they're pushing development and things and new ideas into Heroes of the Storm and Hearthstone and Overwatch, and we're about to get a new StarCraft expansion, but I don't feel like really anything new has happened in Warcraft in quite some time. I kind of feel like they're, well, like I said, just coasting along and seeing how far their momentum will take them.
Are you saying new stuff as like an expansion, or aside from all the expansions?
Aside from the expansions, really just kind of add story, and like even the raids, from what I've heard from a lot of the competitive people that I know, say that the raids, while they're fun, they haven't really brought anything new to the table. There's a lot of very similar feelings from one boss to another, especially I guess for tanks. Almost every single boss now has a tank swap mechanic, and they're not really being as innovative with their boss fights as they have been in the past.
Um, let's see. I think that I look at the past 2 years in Warcraft and I see a lot of innovation, along the same lines that like a big UI overhaul would be kind of, you know what I'm saying? Um, that might indicate that a UI overhaul is something that's in their capabilities, on their radar, and something that's actually kind of even likely to happen over the next couple of years. Um, I'm looking for group tool. I'm looking at this upcoming honor overhaul, the removal of honor gear and conquest, that kind of thing. I'm looking at the way raids have gone from static to flexible, and then having that flexible system kind of revamped entirely with this most recent expansion. I'm seeing some boss innovation. I don't think Blizzard's ever released a raid that's been more derivative than the one before it. I think they always push the envelope and always come up with new ways to make boss encounters exciting. There are some standout examples that maybe haven't been topped in a couple of years, but I think they're always trying to reach outside the box. I think there are a lot more tank swap mechanics in Miss Pandaria than Warlords of Draenor by far. Uh, so those are my kind of thoughts. Actually, come to think of it, there are a whole lot of tank swaps in Warlords of
Yeah,
Draenor.
there's a lot of tank swaps in Warlords of Draenor. There's tons of them.
But the mechanics that invoke them are really, getting creative. Um, for example, Imperator Margok isn't a tank debuff, it is a tank or is a boss self buff. The longer he attacks the same target kind of thing. Um, and for example, the Blast Furnace, half the fight is tanks on opposite sides of the room doing their own thing, kind of the Hans and Franz. You don't have to swap between those guys really. These are kind of exceptions. But when you have a raid, and this is getting off topic from UI, when you have a raid, two tank, three healer, five DPS kind of arrangement, the two tanks are always going to be necessary, and they don't want to make one fight in the raid have three tanks. They don't want to make one fight in the raid have no tanks. Um, they kind of have to stick to it. And if you're going to have two tanks in a fight, what are you going to do? Probably make them swap off as to who's got aggro. I mean, that's what I would do as a game designer.
Yeah, I know, but so many of the fights now just, and this is kind of a tangent off of what we've been talking about, but they've been, I mean, it's just like they figured out a formula that they enjoy, and they've just been rolling on that formula because that formula is easy instead of trying to do anything different. And I think that's where a lot of the complaints come in at of, even watching like the guides to the fights is like, okay, well, for this fight you're going to need two tanks, four healers, and 16 DPS or whatever, and it's that kind of seems the same no matter what fight it is. Of you're going to need these two tanks, four healers, and fill in the rest with a mixture of melee and range DPS, and then don't stand in the bad, tank swap when you need to, and fight.
So what I'm thinking is that when I think about these things you're bringing up, Blizzard coasting, Blizzard not really innovating, Blizzard kind of running on their momentum as the MMO, and not feeling like they need to recapture market share by breaking the mold. I see that when I look at the tank healer DPS archetype, and I liked the scenarios as busting out of that mold. You don't need a tank and healer and DPS. You can just have three DPS. Or outdoor questing very rarely needs a five-man team that's balanced. So I'm not entirely sure that the UI is a symptom of this or a reflection of this, and saying Blizzard's just as likely to change the custom or the default UI as they are to introduce a raid that doesn't require two tanks. I can see that statement as being kind of true, but a UI revamp is going to be a lot more likely than a dungeon group archetype revamp. Does that make any sense?
Yeah, I guess so. It just still just doesn't feel very good, I think, is the problem that I'm having.
Yeah, this lack of like they Warlord of Draenor. I'm gonna be a little bit of a pessimist here, a critic. Brings in the garrisons, really new feature, really new way to play the game. And as far as releasing an expansion that took 2.5 years to develop, or however long, um, with this brand new feature, and have it kind of be like I guess that's kind of cool. Don't worry about including this in the next expansion, but it was kind of fun for the first 6 weeks of release. That seems like an incredible failure if you're trying to break the mold, and if you're trying to recapture the market share, that kind of thing. Um, yeah, Blizzard did a lot of innovating in conceptualizing their MMO, and they redefined the genre, like I already said. That's a lot of momentum to kind of go on. They're always going to have the best, you know, 10-man raids, five-person dungeons, I think, because they've been doing it for so long. A new MMO on the block that tries to do a 5-man dungeon is either going to be a copy or something that tries to break the mold and isn't as effective. And that's just been my experience playing games like it was Warhammer, a recent MMO in the last 6 years. Uh, geez, there have been a lot. I played The Lord of the Rings. I've played not Rift, but I've played Elder Scrolls Online, which was quite a while ago too. Not Elder Scrolls Online. That's more recent. That's got a 5 or 4-man dungeon. Doesn't quite break the mold. It's more of a copy. It's a shift in a different kind of direction. But it isn't revolutionary. Nobody's creating the MMO revolution. It seems like this is the genre, this is the definition, and that's almost set in stone. Blizzard certainly isn't doing anything to erode that. The game I was trying to fish for is Dungeons and Dragons Online. That had a 5-person group dungeon experience, which was different. You could do the same dungeon on different difficulties for different rewards, which was not something Blizzard used to do, but now you can, what with challenge modes and heroics and all that, and mythic dungeons. Same kind of thing. It's taken them years to adopt the same kind of seamless variation in difficulty there, but that's just one detail,
Yeah.
I think that they have the capabilities to really shake things up, but I'm not entirely sure what they're necessarily afraid of when doing large-scale innovations, like things we're talking about, breaking the tank healer 3 DPS 5-man dungeon group, for example. What is so sacred about that? Is it players' expectations? Is it ease of design? Would it just be far too expensive to create really complicated 5-man dungeons that require all these technical skills and coordination to defeat not just a strong tank and a healer that can keep them alive long enough for the DPS, however good they are, to bring the health down to 0?
I don't. Maybe. Okay. Now, maybe this is part of getting too comfortable with what works. I don't think cost is really a problem for them. I mean, it's Blizzard. Let's face it. They make more money than probably any video game company on the planet. Well, actually, they do, since they're part of the Fortune 500. Anyway, not talking about that though. I think what it is that when Blizzard was younger, they had more aspirations to. This is difficult to. They had more aspirations to do new things, to try and attract more people, to be a bigger and better name. But now they're already one of the biggest and best names. So instead of trying to make that name bigger, they just need to retain that title, essentially. And so they don't want to. They're no longer in a position where they need to take risks. So instead, they'll just go down the straight and narrow safe path.
They're going to be in a position where they're going to need to take risks before too long. What's something that Blizzard said recently about subscribers? What's more important than having a big subscriber base is having a base of happy players?
Yes.
Are they just going to lose the players who want something more until they're just left with a completely content base of players that wants things to stay the same? I wouldn't consider that a success. Did I lose you there? That makes sense?
I don't know. I mean, because technically, I mean, if your players are happy, then the number's going to go up because that means you'll have more people that are happy. So I think that the whole statement that they made about 5 million happy players is better than 10 million unhappy players is just kind of like a really political answer to roll off the back to make them look good. But they want 10 million people paying for their game over 5. No matter what way you look at the game, 10 million people giving you $15 a month compared to 5 million people giving you $15 a month is always going to be better. And from any business standpoint at all, that's just going to be the way it is. And if you have 5 million happy players compared to 10 million unhappy players, that's not really a thing that you can compare, because if 10 million players aren't happy, you're not going to retain 10 million unhappy players.
You know what I think? I think the 10 million player peak in Wrath of the Lich King occurred because of that expansion of World of Warcraft occurred in a kind of MMO vacuum, more or less. If player archetype A wants a good PvP game in small groups, if player archetype B likes a good PvP game in big groups, if player archetype 3 likes role playing, if player archetype 4 likes a sandbox style RPG, player 5 wants like a theme park style. Back in 2007-8. World of Warcraft was the best game on the market for all of those categories because there's only one of the only ones out there that was widely known. Social media has exploded since then. A lot of video games have come out since then. And now I think if you really like small group PvP, there's a better game than World of Warcraft Arenas. There's lots of MOBAs out there now you can choose from. There are other games that feature PvP more so than Warcraft features it. I think Warcraft is always going to be more of a PvE-centric game, and we can judge that with the popularity of the Blizzard Arena tournaments. So now, if you like one kind of game or another, there are more choices. There's probably a game that does feature X better than Warcraft does, probabilistically speaking. And Warcraft's retaining the people who still think the Warcraft is the best game for them, considering what kind of game they want, which might be like a PvE raid focused game, honestly. So I think they're saying, we want happy players, we don't want big players, because I think they know that there aren't 10 million people out there anymore who want to play their game above all the other choices in the competition. They're going to try to corner their market. They're going to try to produce a game that caters to who's still playing. But I don't know if that makes sense, from a business standpoint.
The market is much more saturated now than it was in the past, and that makes things more difficult to appease as many people. It makes sense, and I'm sure that they realize that are on the same page. But I just feel like so many of their answers are just kind of a way to get the water off the duck's back, of just like, let's just shake this off and keep paddling down the river of cash that we've just, filled for ourselves. So, I mean, while that makes sense, I just think that Blizzard has the ability and the potential to go back up to 10 million players and retain 10 million players. I just feel like maybe it's Activision, because Activision is a much less user-friendly company than Blizzard has ever been in the past. And so, maybe Activision is kind of pushing them in a way to, just go with what makes money. But I don't know. I don't know. Let's get.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's get out of here.
Hold.
No,
yeah,
wait, no. Yes, no.
No, wait. I can conjure up. Another comment. Let me see. World of Warcraft. What are you doing? What are you doing, Blizzard? What are you doing to your players? I think, they could spend their resources and development time and the talent trying to get people to come back or to capture a new audience. And that's going to be done by doing something different. Or they could spend their money in creating a game that resembles the game they already have, but is better in every way to retain the players who already like the game as it is, to take Warcraft's approval rating by subscribers from 75%, say, I don't know these numbers, to 95%. And what are they going to do? What's a better long-term strategy? Well, that's up to their financial people. What would I like them to do? A mixture of both. And I think that's going to be the more financially sound decision to increase your market share and take the game you already have and make it better. I think that's what they've always done, every expansion to expansion.
I can agree with that. All right, let's get out of here. That wasn't as loud as I was hoping. Oh, well. That's our show, everybody. We didn't have any listener mail this week. We do appreciate any that we get, though. If you would like to send us any mail, feedback, questions, suggestions, or otherwise, please send it to our email at thecastbar@gmail.com. Send us a tweet on Twitter at Castbar Podcast. Call and leave us a voicemail at 508-738-2278, or you can find a form to leave us feedback, questions, and suggestions on our website at www.thecastbar.com. I do have to give a little bit of credit out, and that is to the gentleman that does the music for our bumpers. His name is Kevin MacLeod. You can find all of his work at incomtech.com. It is all licensed under the Creative Commons Attribution 3.0, which means you can use it for free if you give him credit. Otherwise, you can give him money, and you don't have to give him credit. If you do not like whatever form that you're listening to our show on, it is available on iTunes, YouTube, Stitcher, and our website. Yeah, I think that's all of them. If you would like to find me, you can find me on pretty much all forms of social media, the primary ones being Twitter and Reddit. Reddit handle is Schwahn, SCHWAHN, and if you want to find me on Twitter, add a Michael on the end of that, MICHAEL. Evan, where are people able to find you?
You can email me at the Castbar, and that email will always get to me. I'm also on Twitter at EDCWow.
Wonderful. All right, everyone. Thank you. It's a little bit of a shorter show. Hopefully, Florian has his stuff set up, and we'll be back next week. Take it easy.
You are out of time.